Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. The tea today is Darjeeling from Harney & Sons. When I ordered the other teas from them that I mentioned in a previous video, they sent me little sample thingies of teas. So it's like two little individually wrapped tea bags. The Darjeeling is too hot to sip right now, so I'll have to report on how it is later in the video if I remember. Yeah, I so want to sip it, but yeah, that would have me screaming in pain on the camera, which I would prefer not to do. I've been wanting for a while to talk a little bit more in detail about promos and expansions that I've gotten recently. I've kind of talked about them a little bit in previous videos, but some of these things I need to explain to you in a bit more detail because they're really kind of neat. And also because what the publisher said about how to play it isn't actually maybe helpful. So, yeah, but we have played some of the things with promos that we've got, and I still have some promos that have not yet been rolled in and played. They've been rolled in but not played. But I want to get to the stuff that we have played and talk to you just a little bit about promos in general. Yes, I stacked them in backwards order. I've heard people talk about legacy games, and they say one of the things that they like about doing a legacy game is that when they've done the thing, then they have a game that is completely and utterly unique to them. The game is special because they have altered the components and the board and the cards and stuff in certain ways that you do with legacy games. I'm not really a legacy game person, so I don't know. But that always kind of rang something in my head because I know that feeling. That's the feeling I get with promo cards. I realize that adding promo cards to a game does not make that game completely unique. There are other people who have those cards, but they're not standard, and most people won't have the promo cards. So it's just like this little bit of extra delight. If you come over and sit at my table and play a game with me, and it's a game that you know and like, you may see something in that game that you have never seen before, something that makes it different and special, different from what you've seen before. I just like that sort of customization of promos. Although when a lot of people talk about customizing games, what they're usually talking about are the various bits, the components. But there are other extras that you can get that aren't meeples. Zapotec. I mentioned this in another thing, and I know I've got viewers who really like Zapotec. I got from the Board Game Geek store promos from... not promos, well, they're listed under the promos. These are boards that are alternate boards. And the way that they are alternate is that a couple of the boards have the spots where the priest and the coin and the corn are in different spots. But the other things have, the other new ones have like your grid here for your resources are arranged differently. We finally played it with the new boards, and we used specifically the boards that had those resources that were in different spots on that grid, as well as, I guess the grids are kind of shifted around a little bit there, but what I found is this does not make a substantial change to the game. Is this something you absolutely got to have if you're a big fan of Zapotec? Maybe. If you find when you're playing the game that you're doing it kind of by rote, it's like, okay, the game is starting, I'm going to do brick, and then after brick, I'm going to do this, and when I do brick, then that's going to give me the intersection there, and I will pick up a coin or a priest or whatever it is that you do for your first round strategy, and you're going like, oh, yeah, it's it. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. It's like click, click, click. And of course, to some extent, what you do is dependent upon the cards. But if you find that you're really making your moves in a programmatic fashion, like on your first turn, you always do this, and the tile goes there. And then you build around that to get the rows, to get the resources for the income phase. This would change up your game. That's the main thing we noticed, is that looking at this thing, you kind of get into the habit of doing certain things. It's like, okay, that first tile, it's going to go there. And then I will play a different card. I'll play a card that will allow me to get a tile to put another one there. So if you find that you think about it that way, then when you're looking at this thing, you're going to go, oh, should I put that there? Well, no. And I would need stone or wood instead of brick. Yes, I don't have a stone card, but I could do that. And so it makes you look at the board and the grid with fresh eyes, because the lines where it's like wood is over here now and intersects over that way, or this tile has corn on it and that was not a spot that had corn before. So it's not going to totally upend your game, but if you find that you're playing the game and you're just going click, 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 it's like you're not even thinking about what you're doing, because it's like, these are the cards that I play, and this is where those tiles go. It will make you stop and think about what you're doing. And so it's just a nice little small change. And we did enjoy playing with the alternate boards. I've now just got them shuffled in with the regular game boards, and we will just pick them at random for future games. Other things, and you may notice I'm kind of sitting over to the side here, because I know that I've got pictures of some of these things that I've gotten, and I'm going to try to drop inserts in over here, and some of them may be vertical rather than horizontal. Let me see, what am I doing next? Space. I got 2 mini expansions, or actually one of them is a pack of promo cards, and the other is actually called an expansion for Space Base. There's a whole bunch of expansions for these games. In fact, some of them seem to be part of a series, but that's not what I got. What I got was the Dreadnought promo pack, and I got them, the other stuff I got from the Board Game Geek store. This I got from the publisher's website, the promo packs. There are, the 2 things I got is I got the Dreadnought promos, and then I got the Biodome expansion. Tiny little things, but boy, they do have an impact. The reason why I got them is because, of course, everybody complains that the ships that they want for the sectors they need to fill are just not showing up. I mean, I've experienced this in 3 and 4 player games, but it really, ships don't cycle. That ship market does not cycle nearly as fast in a 2-player game. And it kind of slows down production of stuff. The Dreadnought promo cards here, and I will put an insert up here. The cards you get is you get a set of 1 through 12 ship cards. So you can put those in to your regular thing. They are all level 2 cards with commensurate cost and benefits. And I'm putting an insert up here that will show you the level 2 cards. I think I have 2 different photos that have different level 2 cards. I can't remember if it's 1 or 2 now. But my idea is that if I got these 2 expansions, that they would help with 2-player games, that they would give me cards with more good stuff. And we have played with the Dreadnought expansion and we liked it. I separated it out in order to photograph it and fan it out for the camera here for you, but we're going to just keep them rolled into those level 2 ships. Now, the Biodome expansion, it's much bigger. It's a lot more than 12 cards. The Biodome expansion has instructions, credits. It has 2 full sets of colony cards, and you can, I might add that the Dreadnought expansion, I don't know if you can see it here because it's tiny, but it does have like a little lightning bolt mark here off to the side if you wanted to separate it out. The colony cards in the Biodome expansion, green instead of blue for the colony cards, so very easy to separate out. What they recommend you doing is using these instead of the colony cards that are in the thing and shuffling them up and then laying them out, and basically if you come up with a duplicate number, then you just go on until you can fill that slot. And we played it that way, and that was fine. But what I really wanted to do was shuffle these 24 cards. And again, I need to put inserts up there so that you can look at these things. These 24 cards in with the existing colony cards, and then just draw out cards and fill in the slots for the colony cards until I have one of every number. And we played it that way too, and we liked it. The thing about these colony cards are, you notice that some of them have very, very light yellow things. That's the normal colony color. But they also have something written on them besides the points. You get that one-time point thing, but you also will get, a one-time action. And then there are some that have orange on the bottom, which will have a continuing action that will be applied every time on your turn. And then I think there's one that has a green thing or blue or something that is, yes, it's blue. And it just says take another turn after this one, which is an instant action. So this does change the game quite a bit. But I mean, if you're playing with only these colony cards, it has a big impact. If you're playing with these mixed in with the regular colony cards, the impact's going to be somewhat moderated by which one of these cards come out. Because colony cards, you get those points right away, and then if you roll that or somebody, then you don't get anything extra. You would still score off of the deployed ships in that sector, but you're not going to get anything extra. But with these, you may get something. You may have an extra action besides getting points, or an extra benefit, I should say, besides getting the points when you first buy a colony card. But you might also have an ongoing action. And some of these are just like really interesting. And besides the colony cards, I emphasize the colony cards here, but besides the colony cards in these, there are also ship cards in the Biodome expansion. Let's see if I can get up an insert for the ship cards off here. But the ship cards, unlike the Dreadnought promo pack, which has ships only in the number 2 level ships, the ship cards in the Biodome expansion, you get 4 ship cards in each level. 4 level 1 cards, 4 level 2 cards, 4 level 3 cards. And the difference in price is pretty much, it goes up by level. It's pretty much commensurate with that. The special thing about these ship cards is that you can put them in any sector. You see that up there? You can put them in 1 or above. So these are really handy for filling those holes. Like you've got some sector and it's like you really need to get things moving in that sector and you're just not seeing any ship cards with that sector number coming out in the market. But these cards, you can put them anywhere. So yeah, I thought that was just super, super interesting. So they have no level associated with them. The prices for the cards all seem to be fairly level, except I believe in the Dreadnought promo pack. Let me see here. Yeah, the level, I don't know, there's one of the promos, and I'm going blank now because I did all of this a few days ago and then couldn't make the video, that has a higher cost level. I think it may be the colony cards, like the level and 12. Yes, it's colony cards. The level, I think it's 11 and 12, or maybe just 12 colony cards are more pricey than the base game cards. But these are really handy. You can tell by looking at them that they've got good abilities on them. They're not meh. So yeah. And I feel like that with 2 players, it helps a bit. And if you play it at 2 players with Biodome or the Dreadnought promo pack, and you find that it's at 2 players, it's still not solving the problem sufficiently for you to get good stuff out of the ship market. Everybody's just waiting for those ships or sectors. You could always just cherry pick some of the cards, like swap out a Biodome level 6 card with Sector 6 card with a base game Sector 6 card or something like that. But I feel like that it kind of stacks the deck because there are more of each sector number in there, so there's a better chance that the sector you need will come out. We did not cherry pick the cards. We just like shoveled everything up together and made a big mess, which is just kind of how we roll around here. And roll is an accurate way of saying things because this is a dice rolling game. And I forgot to put the rule book back in. Duh. I always do that. I mentioned like those ship cards are like really nifty. One promo I got that's just kind of so-so, but I had to get it because it's like a game I like with a designer I like. And that is, I got the Fishfolk card for Creature Caravan. There's nothing really extraordinary about it, but you should know if you snaffle up Ryan Lockett stuff that there is a single promo Fishfolk card that you can get from the Board Game Geek thing. And let me see here, what am I doing next? I think next I'm going to talk about Century Spice Road. You know we like this. We only recently discovered it at Pelican, believe it or not. I've been trying to lean into classic games a little bit more recently because I realize there's a lot of good stuff out there that I don't know anything about because it's all about the hotness. That's all I really hear about. And they forget about all the games that the hotness is based on. But yeah, Century Spice Road, I've got promo cards in here and I will put inserts up to show you. These cards, it's just a few cards. They're very good in terms of abilities. And there's 2 sets of promo cards. And you can get them from the Board Game Geek store, and they have some really good, very useful, very tasty kind of abilities on some of them. And we have not yet played with the promo cards rolled in. But this is another game that, like I said, that whole market of cards there, sometimes, especially at 2 players, it just feels like we're just kind of slogging along. It's like there's nothing in the market we want to buy and we really need to buy some good stuff. So So I'm hoping that having these rolled in will kind of spice up, to use a pun, Spice Road, spice up the spice market a little bit in the game. But there are two sets of promos, and I got both of them, and I'm looking forward to playing them. Oh, and speaking of classic games, yeah, y'all know my thing with Dominion. It's just kind of become hilarious because this is the deck building game. I mean, all other games that have deck building in them, they're really, they are the children of Dominion. This is pure deck building. That's all you're doing. It's not deck building in service of anything else. It is just deck building for points. You hit you empty out the province cards or 3 of the other stacks of card types. Game ends, you calculate up your points. I mean, it's that simple. You're just deck building for points, and it's very fast, except that for some reason, this game takes Robert and I much longer than it should to play. Maybe we're just overthinking it, but friends of ours have teased us a little bit, going like, oh my God, how could it possibly take that long? I think it will play faster as we become more familiar with it. And we haven't even played with all the cards in the box yet, but I went ahead and I got a promo card, and I also got an expansion. It's down at the end of the table, the Seaside expansion, to roll into this, because we do really enjoy this game. We just play it way too slow. And I recently got, as in a few days ago, got the Dominion app on my phone. And it's free for Android. I'm guessing it's probably free for iPhone too. And it's also free on Steam. And it's just the base game. And you can then buy expansions. At one time, Dominion was on Board Game Arena, but they took it off to do their own thing. And I can understand that. And that is the thing about Board Game Arena, is that you cannot count on the games always being there. Sometimes the publisher will decide to go a different direction and for whatever reason remove a game from it. But the app plays very, very fast, and I have gotten so good at it with the app, because playing game after game after game very rapidly, because it runs really fast on the Steam app or the phone app, it means that I've gotten super familiar with the cards and the card abilities. I think Robert and I Robert is my husband, Casual Weekend Board Gamers. I think that we just need to play this game more and more and more, so that our familiarity with the cards and how the cards work together or against each other, so that it gets so good that we don't have to stop and think about what we're going to play to chain the cards together. But the promo I got for this is Black Market. I'm going to put an insert up there, and the Black Market card struck me. There are a bunch of promo cards for Dominion on the Board Game Geek, in the Board Game Geek store, but I got this one because this kind of caught my fancy, because what you do is you create a Black Market deck made out of cards that you're not using in this game, because you don't use all of the games that are in the base game in any one game. There's a whole bunch of different cards, and you just kind of mix and match, and you set out a different, and there are abilities. It's randomized on the app. And I think there are cards in here to randomize it. We tend not to be terribly adventurous because we're still learning the game. But this would be, I thought, a good way to introduce cards we're less familiar with than the very basic beginner set, and pull some of those games from the base game that we haven't played yet into a Black Market deck, and maybe roll in some games from that some cards from that Seaside expansion. And so that we could pull from that Black Market deck and get some kind of a nifty surprise of some kind of card that we hadn't seen before, that is going to do something new and cool that the other cards in the game are not doing right now. because we're not playing with those cards. So I just thought that it would be a good way to just sort of see some of the other cards that we're not actually playing within the game and bring them into the game. So I am really looking forward to that, especially since I have been kind of playing Dominion obsessively since I got the app. See if I can put this here down here without shaking the camera too much. Now, I've been mostly talking about promos. I do want to talk about one expansion. We did get the Mountain Goats expansion, and we read the little rule sheet in here on how to play it. And after reading the little rule sheet on how to play it, we have no idea how to play it. There were still so many questions that were unanswered. The Mountain Goats expansion gives you 2 small boards with large numbers on them so that you can sum up your die for higher than 10 and put the one goat onto a big mountain for scoring. Only the highest goats are going to score. There are like little scoring markers that you use at the end, and how many players score depends upon the player count. How many of those score markers are out there? So you might get a goat on the mountain and think you're doing really good, and then you notice that, as the game goes on, that there are a lot more goats above you on the mountain, and your goat is no longer in scoring position. But we couldn't figure out where the goats come from. It's like, we're looking at this. Oh, and by the way, the expansion goats are green, which is my player color. No extra goats, just an extra color. And you can play with the 5th player. It adds a 5th player to the base game or use it for Big Mountain. But we couldn't figure out where the goats came from. I mean, do you take the goat from the bottom of the mountain? Robert was going on, yeah, you take the goat from the bottom of the mountain, one of the mountain tracks. You just decide not to use the goat for that and put it on the mountain. And I'm going like, no, I mean, once the tokens run out for one of those mountain levels, then you've got a goat that you're not using stuck at the top of the mountain. You must use the top goats for it. Turns out we were both kind of right and kind of wrong. You can use any goats that are on your regular board, anywhere on that board, and just decide, like that goat's halfway up that mountain, you're going like, well, I am not rolling that. It is just not moving. So I got a big number here. I'm going to take that goat off the middle of the mountain and I'm going to put it onto the big mountain board. You can do that. Now, if you change your mind and decide that your goat is really low on the big mountain board and you want to move it up, you're going like, I wish I had moved it back to my board. You can do that, but then the goat starts at the bottom of the mountain, even if you took him off the middle or the top. So timing is crucial because you're trying to figure out how to optimize your scoring with the dice, moving up the regular mountain areas and doing the king of the hill thing there. And by the way, you cannot bump other goats off of the big mountain. Once a goat gets into that slot in the big mountain, it stays there until that goat's owner either decides to score the goat at the end of the game or they decide to bail out of the mountain and move it back to the regular mountain. So how did I figure all of this out? Board Game Arena. The Big Mountain expansion is on Board Game Arena, so we messed around with playing the Big Mountain expansion on Board Game Arena to see how it worked, because Board Game Arena won't let you make illegal moves. However you move in games on that, it's got to be a legal move, and it will tell you what you can and can't do. So we played it on that, and that's how we figured it out, but also trying out various things, but also Board Game Arena has much better instructions than the really very, very poor instructions that come with the Big Mountain expansion. Words fail me for how bad these instructions are for the Big Mountain expansion. But Board Game Arena, and I took a screenshot, I'm putting it up on the screen here. This is how you actually play the Big Mountain expansion, and it explains it very, very well. So even if you don't have a Board Game Arena account, you can look at this and you can see how the Big Mountain expansion is actually supposed to be played. if you got the expansion and you can't figure out the rule sheet, or you've been playing it wrong because the rule sheet didn't give you all of the information you needed, here it is. This is how you play the Big Mountain expansion. It is kind of tricky because of the timing thing. I mean, we were both thinking in one of our games that we were going to wait until we depleted the tokens for some of the mountains, which, you know, is a common thing with two-player games. You get 3 of those things depleted, and, you know, and, well, I mean, you do that pretty fast with other things, but, you know, basically we had a goat to spare, and then we would put the goat onto the big mountain to score it. But we actually played a game in which the game ended with no tokens for any of the mountain levels on the base game being depleted, because the other way that a game can end is if all 4 of the bonus tokens are taken. And we got all the bonus tokens divided between us, the 2 of us, and didn't deplete any of the regular mountain expansions. And of course, we had never done that before. In all the times I've played the game, I've not seen a game in which the game ended because all the scoring tokens were taken and none of the tokens for the regular mountains were depleted. Usually there's like at least 1 gone, or maybe 2. But yeah, that can happen too. So we've got the Big Mountain expansion laid out there, and we're just looking at each other and we're going like, nobody put any goats on the Big Mountain, because we were waiting until we had goats that were free. So it's kind of tricky deciding when you want to grab a goat and move it onto the Big Mountain. So if you find that mountain goats, you know, you feel like that it just doesn't offer you enough strategically, that it's just not thinky enough, because let's face it, it's just a dice chucking game. If it just doesn't seem thinky enough for you, the Big Mountain expansion does give you more things to consider, and does not always work out the way you think it will, because dice. But yeah, it does give you more things to manage in the game. So that is something to keep in mind if you enjoy mountain goats. And there is one other thing we played. It is not an expansion. It is not a promo, but I wanted to mention it. This past weekend, we did a cozy mini mystery from the Deadbolt Mystery Society called The Red Mail Blackmailer. A couple of months back, they offered a 6-month subscription for cozy mini mysteries, because most of their mysteries are very, very serial killery. At least the one we did, the random box I bought, did. It seemed very harsh. It also was harder than I expected, I think. But in both this and the full box that we did a while back, there was one puzzle that we couldn't crack. And yet, we figured out everything else, including who done what to whom and when, where, and how, without solving that puzzle. So in both this and the box we did, we figured it out with one puzzle that we could not crack. It bugs me that there's stuff in here that the 2 of us together cannot figure out. But the mini mysteries play faster than the regular ones, which I think is good for us, because we've never done anything like this before, and we do find it really hard. Because we're just not used to playing exit game, escape room, solvable mystery kind of things. The box that we did from Deadbolt and this mini mystery here are the only ones we've ever done. So I feel like we're actually doing pretty good, and that as we do more of them, we will get better at it. But yeah, we've got 5 more of these coming, and they are cozy. There are no murders in this. I do not believe, I think the cozy subscription, the 6-month cozy subscription, was a limited time thing. I do not believe that this is still available, but they have gotten requests for cozy mysteries that are not quite so murdery as their regular ones. So they're trying this out, and I'm hoping that they do it because I did enjoy it a lot. We really liked this, and we had a good time doing it despite the one puzzle we could not crack. Although I should add, we got very, very close to cracking the puzzle. There were just a few little bits that were missing. But yeah, that was this past weekend, and it was bunches of fun. But I wanted to just sit down here and talk to you about some of the promos and expansions in a little more depth and actually show them to you, because I don't think I used the inserts that I shot in some of the other videos in which I had kind of mentioned them in passing. And some of these we have now played. But I've had a good time sitting around the table talking with y'all about games. The Darjeeling is very good. It is maybe, I probably should have taken a sip a few minutes earlier. It's just starting to go off warm, just a little bit. But it's been fun, and I hope it has been informative and enlightening, and that you have found some nifty stuff that might or might not possibly spice up your games just a little bit. And some of these things, the problem with promos and actually some expansions too, is that when you buy them, they don't tell you very much about them. It's like you're getting a pack of cards, and what's on the cards? So I showed you what's on the cards. And I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. It's been fun, and I will see y'all next time around the table. Bye.